Same face, same person, same personality. But watch what happens when we change one thing: how wealthy he appears to be. In 2012, researchers at UC Berkeley ran an experiment where they tracked how drivers behaved at a four-way intersection. Drivers of expensive cars were nearly 4 times more likely to cut off pedestrians and ignore right-of-way than drivers of older, cheaper cars. This isn't a coincidence. This is a documented psychological pattern, and once you understand it, you'll start noticing it everywhere. Today, we're breaking down exactly how wealth, real or perceived, rewires the way people treat you, the way they trust you, and even the way they remember you. Humans are wired to read status almost instantly. Psychologists call this the halo effect. It's a tendency to assume that one positive trait, like wealth, means a person also has other positive traits: intelligence, trustworthiness, even moral character. None of that is necessarily true, but your brain assumes it anyway. In under a second, there's a classic finding in social psychology. People dressed in clearly expensive clothing get treated with more deference, more patience, and more trust from strangers, even when nothing else about them is different. Servers move faster for them. Strangers ask them for directions. Salespeople listen longer. Economist Thorstein Veblen wrote about this over a century ago in his work on what he called conspicuous consumption. The idea that people don't just buy things for use, they buy things to broadcast status to everyone around them. The handbag, the watch, the car, they're not products, they're signals. In the workplace, this plays out constantly. Studies on negotiation consistently show that people perceived as wealthier are taken more seriously in salary negotiations and given more benefit of the doubt in disputes. Confidence reads as competence, and wealth, fairly or not, often reads as confidence before a person even opens their mouth. This is exactly why so much career advice tells you to dress for the job you want, not the job you have. It's not shallow advice, it's psychology. People are constantly, unconsciously scanning you for status cues and adjusting how seriously they take you in real time. Here's the part that surprises people. Economist Robert Frank studied lottery winners extensively and found something counterintuitive. Sudden wealth often damages relationships rather than strengthening them. Old friends start treating the person differently. Some become distant out of envy or discomfort. Others show up only when they need something. This is why financial advisors who work with lottery winners and professional athletes almost always say the same thing. Figure out who your real relationships are before the money changes, because the money will absolutely reveal who was there for you and who was there for your wallet. Dating researchers have studied this extensively too. Data from major dating apps consistently shows that perceived financial stability is one factor among many that influences who gets matched with whom. But it's not the simple story people assume. Studies on long-term relationship satisfaction actually show that shared values, communication, and emotional security predict relationship success far more than income does. In other words, money can get you a first impression. It cannot substitute for character, and research backs that up consistently. People who build relationships purely around status tend to report lower long-term relationship satisfaction, regardless of gender. And here's something almost nobody talks about. Status isn't free, even for the people who have it. The famous Whitehall studies in the UK, led by epidemiologist Michael Marmot, tracked thousands of civil servants over decades and found that social status itself, not just income, was directly linked to stress levels and even heart disease risk. People constantly worried about maintaining their position experience measurably worse health outcomes. So what do you actually do with this information? 3 things. First, understand that first impressions based on status are real, but they are not permanent. The halo effect gets you in the door. What you do once you are inside the room is what actually determines the outcome long term. Second, be honest with yourself about whether the people around you are drawn to who you are or what you have. This isn't paranoia, it's clarity. The clearer you are on this, the better your relationships become, because you stop performing wealth for people who only value the performance. Third, remember that chasing status for its own sake has a documented cost, both financially and psychologically. The goal isn't to look wealthy, the goal is to actually build wealth quietly and let your decisions, not your appearance, do the talking. There's an old line, often attributed to Warren Buffett, that captures this perfectly. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. Status built on substance lasts. Status built on appearance is borrowed, and eventually it comes due. Drop a comment below. Have you ever noticed people treat you differently based on how wealthy you appear? I want to hear your real experience. And if this video gave you a new way to think about status and money, subscribe to Elephant IQ. Every week, we break down the psychology and the strategy behind real wealth. No fluff, just facts. I'll see you in the next one.